Hello everyone, welcome once again to Python with Obinkujo. Today we would be looking at numbers in Python. So just before we delve into our Jupyter notebooks, let's just look at a quick intro to numbers. So there are basically two types of numbers in Python. The first one is integers, which is also called int, and that is what we usually know as whole numbers. So any number without a decimal place is referred to an integer in Python. And then we have the second one, that is floats. And floats, we call them floating point values, and it's the same as decimal numbers. So now let's delve into Jupyter Notebook. So as I said earlier, any number without a decimal point is called an integer, and we can check that by saying type. And if I put this into bracket and I run this, it tells us that is an integer. If I do another type and then I place in any number with a decimal place and then I run that, it's going to tell me that it's a float. So these are the basic two numbers that we have in Python. Now let us quickly switch on to what we call operators in Python. So we can perform some operations on these numbers that we've discussed. So let's look at how to do addition in Python. It is what we know, the plus sign. Let's say plus 89 plus 8, and we run that, we get the result. So then for subtraction, we have the same usual subtraction sign that we know, the dash sign. If I do 56 minus 10 and I run, you're going to get 46. Now let us look let's look at multiplication in Python. I can go ahead and say 25 times, and the time we use the asterisk sign, times 5, and let me do times 4. Let's run, and we have 100. Now let us look at, for division, is the same division that we know. So if I go ahead and do 22 divided by 7 and I run that, I'm going to get, we all know that is the value of pi. I'm going to get to 3.142. Good. Okay, now let's look at what we call the floor division. So the floor division is just like division, however, it returns an integer. You realize that anytime we perform division, we are going to get a floating point number. That's a decimal value. Let me demonstrate that quickly. If I go ahead and I do 20 divided by 5, we know that the answer, it's a whole number. It's going to give us 4. However, because we are performing division on this, it is going to return a floating point number. That is a decimal value. So let's run that and see. Realize that we are getting 4.0. If we check the type of this, if we decide to check the type, and we run, we are going to get a floating point. So anytime we perform division, we get a floating point. Now, if we intend to get an integer, we use what we call the floor division. The floor division discards all the decimal values. That's the floating point values. So let's use the same thing on 22. So this is what we use. We use the same division sign back twice of it. So 22 divided by 7. If I run this, I'm going to get just the whole number part of it. So the difference between division and floor division would bring you the whole number part and the decimal number part. Floor division will only return the whole number part. If we go ahead and check the type of this, if we check the type of that, we run that and we get an integer. Now let us look at what we call the power, so exponent. So how do we perform exponent? So we use the asterisk sign 2 times. So 5 exponent 2. If I run that, we are going to get 25. That is 5 times 5. If we can try it again, we can, let's say 50 exponent 5. If we run that, that is the value that we end up getting. To find the exponent, we use double asterisk. All right. Okay, so going back to our elementary mathematics, whenever we divide something, we say, if we divide 2 by 2 by 2, we'd say 2 remainder 0, 5 by 25 by 5, we would say 5 remainder 0. 10 divided by 2 or 10 divided by 3 would say 3 remainder 1. So that is exactly what the modulo or the mod operator does. It returns the value, the remainder after division. So let us just see how it works. So I'm just going to do I'm going to do 10 divided, that is 10 modulo, and the sign for modulo is a percentage sign. So 10 modulo 2, we all know that 10 divided by 2 is going to give us 5 remainder 0. So let us run that. So that is, it is returning the remainder after the division. So that is why we are getting 0. If I do 10 modulo 3, we know that 10 divided by 3 is 3 remainder 1. So if I run this, I'm going to get the remainder, and this is very valuable in any programming language. So that is that for now. Let's quickly do something. So let us look at, we'll be discussing variables later on, but let's just look at how we can make use of these things. Let's look at our daily challenge. We know that, so let us perform a daily challenge with this. How can we apply any of these things? So just to perform a simple mathematics, we know that in Ghana, whenever you transfer money, you are charged. So we are using Python to find out how much we're going to pay. So in my Momo balance, I have, that is my e-wallet, I have this amount of money, and the current tax rate is 1.5%, which is the same as 0.015. So I'm storing the value of my balance in a container called Momo balance, and I'm storing the tax rate in a container called tax rate. Now to find how much I'm going to pay, all I have to do is to multiply the Momo balance by my tax rate. Now if I go ahead and then print my transfer charge, it gives me this amount. So what it means is that if I will be sending this amount, I'll be paying this as my e-levy transfer charge. Thank you. So that is numbers, and we'll be getting to string in our next chapter. Bye-bye.